Okay, hi everyone, welcome back. And in this update, we are going to check out the Jasmy coin's price chart. And I think we actually have some very interesting structures. But not to worry, there's actually in here in like very short term a very important sign that you can pay full attention to it if you want to know what might be the next likely move in Jasmy and whether, for instance, right around these areas we are going to hit the lows and we are going to have a very strong bounce back, or maybe as opposed to that, we are going to actually see a strong continuation of our move down. We are going to get into all that good stuff, but before that, let's talk Elliott waves. And if you remember, the last time that we talked about Jasmy, I think we were right in here, and the idea was that, well, okay, odds are off of the lows. This is 5 wave up, followed by a correction down, and we do think that in the short term, I think we specifically said in the next 5 to 7 days, we can expect another 5 wave on the upside. And we did get a bit of a 5 wave in here, but as you can see, if I just hide everything, before having this 5 wave, in this phase down in Jasmy coin, we actually took the lowest low in here by like a very small margin. Now, if you want to go according to Coinbase's chart, okay, maybe we haven't taken the lows, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna say, yeah, you know what? In Jasmy, we have taken the lows, and at least this ABC flat may not necessarily be in play. Or let's just say this, even if it is actually in play, this is actually suggesting that in Jasmy, we are having something like an ABC running flat, which looks like this. This is our initial move up into a correction for wave B, which in it we are going to take this initial low and then a decent move up into C, and in it we are not going to take the height of our wave A. And for our sub waves, you know the story if you are a regular viewer of the channel. ABC into A, ABC into B, followed by a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave up into C. And if you want to be a little bit flexible with the rules, you can also say maybe as opposed to an ABC zigzag, we're gonna have maybe an ABC flat in this structure. I don't really think that's like such an insane deal, or like let's say that's gonna be like a deal breaker if you want to argue this is a flat structure. I don't think it's actually that big of an issue. Now, assuming that we are having an ABC flat, and I think we can all safely agree that this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, okay, if you want to argue that this is going to be an ABC zigzag as opposed to a 5 wave, well, you just have the sub waves in here for a running flat structure, meaning what? Odds are in Jasmy coin, this move down is going to continue, and in it, we are going to take the lows in here. And as you can see, by like a very small margin in Jasmy, we still haven't, but by the time that this video goes out, I think it is very much possible for us to go down and clear all the lows and maybe even go like just a little bit lower. Now, what if I am wrong and this is going to be our final? In that case, in the next couple of hours in Jasmy coin, generally again, before we take the lows, you want to see a very strong bounce in form of, you know it, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in order to, excuse me, what just happened, take these highs right in here. And at that point, I think a lot of people are going to talk about a potential head and shoulder structure. This can be our left shoulder followed by our head, and this might be our right shoulder. So if you see a move up in Jasmy in like very short time, meaning in the next couple of hours, in order to get a break of neckline, okay, that's absolutely fair enough. At that point, we are going to be bullish with a decent amount of confidence and maybe even call this thing our final low. But right now, based on what I'm seeing, I'm gonna say this move down may continue a little bit more, and on a higher degree, we may have, excuse me, let's just delete this one, like to about, I'm gonna say probably here actually 5 down into 1, correction for 2, another move down into wave 3, correction for 4, and yet another move on the downside into our wave 5. Now, here's a very important point. This 5 wave down that in Jasmy we may see in like very short term can be in different forms. For example, there's actually a decent chance that we're gonna have maybe a 5 down in form of an ending diagonal a wedge structure, and in it we're just going to have some choppy price action and not a whole lot of necessarily downward price action. On the other hand, if we are going to see an impulse on the downside, okay, the story at that point is going to be a little bit different. So the main question in my view in Jasmy coin should be this: how exactly can we figure out whether we are going to have an impulse down, meaning a rather strong move on the downside for the next couple of days, or maybe like a very slow and choppy move down, and overall downsides in here are going to be quite limited. I actually believe that you have a very, very important sign, and that comes down to, believe it or not, indicators. First things first, let's go on weekly time frame, zoom in more. Okay, so here's the situation. Let's just hide everything. As you can see, in terms of candlestick, in this area in the last 3 weeks, we actually had two strong red candles followed by a bit of a green candle. But if I just zoom in, there we go. Even this one suggests that sure, bulls did try to a little bit push the price up. However, bears right around these areas, about 0.77 of a cent, they actually failed and pulled the price once more all the way back down to these levels. So based on candlestick analysis, to me this suggests, yep, unfortunately, bears are still fully in charge. Now, when it comes to indicators, excuse me, okay, so as you can see in MACD, unfortunately, we still have this sell signal that we got about 2 months ago. And in terms of stock RSI, where are we? Okay, so as you can see, we unfortunately yet again have a sell signal in here, but the fact that we are around the oversold region to me suggests probably again downsides are quite limited. And when you combine this with the fact that in Jasmy we are right now around a very important cluster of support areas, I think it's actually relatively easy to come up with that conclusion, indicating yep, in Jasmy we may go down a little bit more, but overall it's a little bit unrealistic to, at least right now, let's say, expect Jasmy to get a break of this level, which the lower band of it is about, let's say, 0.47 of a cent. Now, whether we are going to have maybe like a 10-15% move on the downside, that can be off for the base. And let's real quick go on daily time frame. There we go. So as you can see, in here we are having a sell signal in a stock RSI, but on the other hand, a bit of a buy signal in MACD. But that's not necessarily the point. You see, let's just actually delete volume. Since this chart is from TradingView, it doesn't actually show volume to you. There we go. So okay, what do you have in here? On the live chart, as you can see, excuse me, this is a low, there we go. The other one is a lower low. But on the other hand, though, in MACD, you are having a low, the other one is a higher low, meaning this is a beautiful looking bullish divergence. Now, immediately, you are going to argue that because of this bullish divergence, we are going to get a great move up soon, right? Well, the answer is yes. Hopefully, we are going to have a better move on the upside. However, God forbid, if you see in like very, very short time in the next couple of days in Jasmy, maybe another small move down in order to, in MACD, get a break of this divergence line. At that point, number one, the bullish divergence itself is going to get invalidated, meaning you shouldn't really expect that move up that we talked about earlier. And number two, which is more important, as a result of the break of the divergence line, you actually should expect a rather strong move on the downside in Jasmy in the short term. And you need to probably count on this thing playing out as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in form of, like we said that earlier, an impulsive structure, as opposed to like maybe some chopping around in form of a wedge. So I think in like very short term in Jasmy, even if we go down and we take this important low, it's not necessarily going to be that much of a big deal as long as we are not getting a break of this very, very important divergence line. Okay, I think right now it is decision time in a very short time in Jasmy, and as long as we are not getting a break of this thing, I believe we are good to go up. On the other hand, if we break this divergence line, okay, at that point, count on maybe another 10 to, I'm gonna say probably maximum at least in here, 15-17% move on the downside. Now, why did I choose 15 to 17% move down? Because somewhere between 0.55 to about 0.6 of a cent in Jasmy, we actually have a bit of a daily strong support inside of this important cluster of support areas. So the moment that we get a break of the divergence line, count on a move down in Jasmy in order to get to this important level, which the higher band of it translates to about a 10% move. The lower band of it translates to about, let's say, a 15-17% move on the downside. So again, for now, it all comes down, in my view, to this important sign in MACD. And I hope I explained everything well and you understood what is going on in Jasmy coin. Anyway, if you found any value in my content, I would really appreciate if you like this video and consider subscribing to my channel and follow me on Twitter. And if you want more, maybe you want a complete analysis for your own specific crypto, or maybe you want to learn some decent TA in order to be able to make good money in the markets, you can become a member and ask me anything you want. And until the next update, I hope you have a wonderful time with your family and loved ones. Goodbye.